My name is Dr. Abyss, and if there is one thing I have learned in my intergalactic travels, it is that the essence of existence is not merely in knowledge or technology, but in the interactions between the most diverse forms of life. Every encounter, every exchange, whether of words or hostilities, redefines the boundaries of what we call civilization. The Monolith of Ra, stolen by pirates, became our beacon. We tracked its signal to a peculiar planet called OrbePing, a true intergalactic den where anything can be bought, sold, or lost forever. A pirate port at its core, teeming with smugglers, merchants, and creatures who see morality only as a price to be negotiated. This time, we were not merely hunters chasing an artifact. We assembled a small team, determined to prove to the servants of Osiris, and to ourselves, that humans are capable of surviving and asserting their presence in space. The sky of OrbePing was a pool of liquid jade, a vast green expanse speckled with opaque moons and dead stars that seemed to flicker out of sync, as if time itself were an illusion there. Below us, an ocean of murky waters reflected the planet's strange atmosphere, tinting the horizon with a mossy green that resembled the trail of a cosmic fungus. Our ship, a relic of past wars, hovered above the floating port, a heap of rusted metal and decaying neon, held up by colossal steel columns embedded in the mineral reefs below. The place seemed suspended between the abyss and the sky, a limbo where order and chaos merged. The city pulsed with a life of its own, an anarchy of colors and sounds that blended into an incessant cacophony. Creatures from across the galaxy crowded in greasy alleyways, exchanging cybernetic parts, weapons of dubious origin, and substances that even the most experienced smugglers dared not name. The air was heavy, thick with the scent of burnt oil and exotic meat grilling on rusted skewers. Among makeshift stalls and underground markets, deals were made in codes only the craftiest space pirates could decipher. It was a place where law was written in bullets and credits, and survival depended on knowing whom to trust or whom to betray. I descended the metallic ramp with the group, feeling the metal groan under our steps. The human from Gigantia, a robust soldier whose face was a map of scars and untold stories, kept his eyes fixed on every shadow, every suspicious movement. He was a veteran of battles that had shaped the galaxy, and his rigid posture betrayed that he trusted no one, not even us. Beside him, the member of Red Dragon moved with feline agility, his narrow, treacherous eyes scanning the surroundings like a predator on the prowl. He exuded the arrogance of someone who was already plotting something, and I knew that sooner or later he would show his claws. The two servants of Osiris walked alongside us, imposing in their golden armor that gleamed even under the dim greenish sky. They did not speak, but their presence was overwhelming, as if they mentally absorbed every symbol, every noise emitted by the vibrant city. They were guardians of ancient secrets, and their mission here was as mysterious as their impassive expressions. "Welcome to the whole of the universe," I murmured, adjusting my visor to capture the information around me. The device projected flickering holograms into my field of vision, revealing data on temperature, air composition, and most importantly, the life signatures surrounding us. Every face, every creature, was cataloged in milliseconds, but no system could predict what truly awaited us in that place. OrbePing was not just a port, it was a living organism, a cancer in the fabric of the cosmos, and we were about to dive into its entrails. We had barely taken 10 steps when I felt the eyes on us. First there were only a few, then dozens, until a small crowd formed around us. The inhabitants of OrbePing were bulky creatures, their pinkish, shiny skin reflecting the yellowish light from rusted lampposts. Small, dark eyes blinked from greasy slits, and their flat snouts resembled bipedal pigs, deformed by time and the cruelty of space. Their clothes were a patchwork of rags hardened by filth and crudely welded metal plates, as if they were always on the brink of collapse. But the worst was the smell. A nauseating mixture of sulfur, rotten fish, and burnt oil that clung to the throat like a silent warning. You do not belong here. They surrounded us slowly, murmuring in their guttural language, their eyes darting between us and our weapons. Some bared yellowed teeth in crooked grins. Others merely observed, weighing possibilities. The atmosphere vibrated with a deep rumble as one of them pointed directly at me and the other humans. He said something in his tongue, a phrase punctuated by a strange throat click, before releasing a deep, raspy laugh. The soldier from Gantia beside me tensed, his hand instinctively sliding to the weapon strapped to his holster. "What was that?" he asked, his eyes scanning the grotesque faces around us. One of the servants of Osiris, wrapped in his dark armor, slowly turned. His deep voice reverberated through the speech modulator, cold and impassive. "They said they've never seen hairless primates walking around here." The crowd erupted into laughter. Thunderous guffaws filled the air, their misshapen bodies shaking like grotesque jelly. Some slapped their own knees, others pointed at us as if we were a ridiculous spectacle. No human laughed. I let out a sigh and crossed my arms, feeling the weight of the unwanted attention upon us. Perfect. We're in the middle of an intergalactic pirate port, and we've already become the joke of the week. We walked cautiously through the city's narrow, slippery streets, where even the ground itself seemed to conspire against outsiders. The humidity clung to our boots, and the air carried the scent of rust and burnt oil, mixed with something indefinable, like rotten meat left in the sun for too long. My eyes scanned every detail. Small drones floated above the crowds, their battered hulls blinking with bluish lights as they projected flickering holograms into the smoke-saturated air. Advertisements flashed in unknown languages, selling everything from illegal experimental weapons to forbidden genetic enhancements. One displayed a human with golden eyes, accompanied by the promise, "Be more than flesh. Be a god." In a nearby alley, the sound of a fight broke out. An alien with blue-green skin struggled to forcibly rip a chip from the nape of another, who thrashed and howled like a cornered animal. Dark blood splattered against the metallic wall as the blade plunged in. No one intervened. Not even the drones, which merely adjusted their course as if it were just part of the routine. Ahead, the docks buzzed with activity. Ships of all sizes were crammed side by side, some still dripping thick fuel, others with hulls corroded by time and neglect. Merchants shouted for attention, their stalls overflowing with stolen parts, exotic weapons, and artifacts wrapped in filthy rags. In a dimly lit corner, a flickering holographic sign, worn by years of decay, pulsed intermittently. Station 77, Trade Smuggling. Rumors said that anything could be sold there. Anything. Even the legendary Monolith of Ra. Our guide, the servant of Osiris, didn't hesitate as he led us through an even darker alley, weaving past hooded figures and eyes that assessed us like predators sizing up their prey. He brought us to one of the shadiest establishments in the area, a smoke-filled bar where the scent of synthetic alcohol and burnt circuits lingered in the air like a warning. Pirates and mercenaries negotiated at round tables, their voices low and full of distrust. Some kind of metallic music played in the background, distorted and grating. This was a place where alliances were forged and betrayals were sealed on the same night. And it was there, in the heart of decadence, that we found our first lead. The local trader, a being with leathery skin, yellowed fangs, and trembling, multi-jointed fingers, looked on the verge of collapse. His jaws opened and closed soundlessly for a moment, as if hesitating to share what he knew. They tried to sell it, the monolith, the pirates, but, he swallowed hard, his gaze flickering nervously between us and the bar entrance, as if expecting something or someone to appear at any moment. The transaction was interrupted. Interrupted by who? I asked, keeping my tone neutral. He took a deep breath. It wasn't a who, it was a what. The silence around the table deepened. "Something big," he finally said, his hands twisted together, claws scraping against each other with an irritating sound. The Gigantia soldier leaned forward. "What do you mean by big?" The trader didn't answer right away. Instead, his nervous fingers slid over a rusted holographic panel, calling up a file. A flickering recording appeared in the air, hastily captured and unstable. At first, only shadows, erratic movements. Pirates gathered in a narrow alley, their rifles gleaming in the darkness, murmuring amongst themselves as they checked the stolen artifact. Then it appeared. It emerged from the darkness like an inevitable omen. The first thing the recording captured was the metallic tendrils unfurling from the void like hungry serpents, thin, swift, each ending in curved blades sharp enough to cleave a man in half. The dull sheen of metal flickered as they moved, precise, lethal. Its body followed soon after. Slender, feminine. The skin wasn't skin, but a pulsating black biotechnological alloy, adjusting seamlessly to its elegant frame. The dim neon lights flickered against its form, revealing details of the living metal that coated its limbs like a predatory exoskeleton. Every movement was calculated, every step flowing with silent lethality. The pirates screamed. The first shots were frantic, erratic, plasma beams streaking through the air in a desperate attempt to stop something that couldn't be stopped. It didn't dodge. It didn't need to. The tendrils rose like whips of obsidian, blocking the shots with impossible precision. Then it attacked. The recording trembled violently as the first pirate was lifted off the ground, his throat crushed by a metal claw. Another tried to flee, but hadn't taken more than 2 steps before a gleaming blade cut a perfect silent line through his armor. The final frame of the recording captured its eyes. Glowing, merciless. And then the screen went black. Silence weighed upon us like a corpse. The Gigantia soldier broke the tension with a hoarse whisper. This is no ordinary mercenary. One of the Osiris servants, until then as still as stone, murmured, "This is a primordial force." The information was clear. The monolith was still on the planet, but now more than one group was after it. This was no longer a simple hunt for a stolen artifact. This was war. A chill ran down my spine as I realized we weren't just dealing with greedy, opportunistic pirates. There was something else here. Something ancient. Something that understood the true power of the monolith. The Red Dragon soldier, always ready for a bold move, stepped forward. His smirk was that of a man who liked to gamble big and win. "We have to move fast," he said, his eyes gleaming with a mix of adrenaline and ambition, "or we'll lose this chance forever." The Gigantia soldier didn't move immediately. He simply stared at the hologram with eyes hardened by time, calculating. That was how veteran warriors operated. They didn't talk much. They didn't need to. When he finally spoke, his voice carried the certainty of someone who had survived impossible battles. "They think we're prey." His gaze shifted to me, to us, to the humans, the hairless primates the elder races always underestimated. The pirates laughed at us. The aliens dismissed us. They thought we were just flesh. And that was what made them lose. I let out a slow breath, watching the flickering, decaying lights of OrbePing around us. The city continued to pulse with life, indifferent to the silent war unfolding in its shadows. But it didn't matter. The universe could ignore us for now. Soon, it would have to recognize us. I adjusted my gear and exchanged glances with my companions. "Then let's hunt." And we plunged into the depths of OrbePing, ready to show the universe what it truly meant to be human.